Hey, boys and girls, the other part of my intro doesn't work yet, I guess, which leaves us very abruptly and suddenly live.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of surprising.
Yeah. But I thought I should do something.
Like how
Sad
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus had the same problem. He was just like, one moment not there, the next moment he is. People are like, what? No intro? No flares here? Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Show a little showmanship.
Damn. Yeah. Yes. What would Jesus do at a time like this? Anyway, the concept of time on the water is something to consider with when you interface with people that you like. Right now, the three of us are having time on the water together, basically just chit-chatting, talking, interfacing, whatever. And when you're dealing with, like oftentimes when we talk to our kids or, when kids talk to their parents, they have some purpose in mind, right? Well, time in the water is just not that, not having any purpose at all. Just putting in the time on the water, and it will enhance your life in unexpected ways, because things will come up that you did not plan. And it seems that things that happen when we plan them kind of oftentimes suck.
Yeah.
And unplanned things are usually they're a cut above, cut above. So,
Time on the Water is also the name of a Minnesota organization. At least there's one department of it in Minnesota that brings fishing back into the lives of veterans, military personnel, firefighters, law enforcement, and teachers, and other admirable men and women. So that's a great thing. There's also a book by somebody named Bill Gardner
called Time on the Water?
Called Time on the Water.
Maybe that was what my therapist was referring to.
It's Pursuit of the Quest for the Ultimate Muskie.
Oh, no, that isn't Time on the Water. No, that's not it. Yeah, the Ultimate Muskie is something else.
Okay.
You know how you catch a muskie, right?
No, I do not. Please tell me.
You get a pretty powerful motor, and you get a little like a ski or some sort of a raft on the back, and you tie it to the back of your boat by a rope. And on that raft, you put your girlfriend's poodle, and you get going about 30 miles an hour, and you have a string attached to the poodle. And when you're going fast enough, you pull the poodle off the raft, and he flops around in the water, and the muskie grabs him. That's how you catch the biggest muskie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's a bit of truth in that, because I was trolling. I didn't catch muskie, but northerns are very much like muskies. But I was trolling a lure, and I decided I wanted to take off and go somewhere. And I started the motor before I pulled in the lure, and I started rapidly reeling in the lure, and my rod was almost ready to crack in half. And it was going about 40 miles an hour through the water, and bang, I got a northern. And so I did it again and again. And every time I got up to like really like faster than you think any fucking fish could go or see a lure, a northern would grab it, because northerns are like, they're kind of peaceful devils. They sit around, they just hover around, and they're about, like 3 feet long and about 30 pounds sometimes. And they have teeth that are like fucking rows and rows of razor teeth that if you just touch them, you'll end up in the hospital. And when they see something go by really fast, it pisses them off.
I knew a girl.
Oh, you knew a girl.
I'm saying.
There's always a girl for everything in your life.
Oh, yeah, I knew a girl. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, why, James? Why, James? Do you hate them? and go to places like this. Fuck is wrong with you?
Hey, I'm just your time in the water, man. Everyone's gonna leave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was unplanned. Anyway. What else? Oh, these two assholes that I got on screen. Do you see them?
Yes, they have no credentials really, so they wear suit and tie.
Yeah, look at them. I mean, just look at these people. This is God's rejects right here, I think. The expressions on their face just kill me, but they've got a really interesting theory about climate change, and it's kind of wonderful. Unfortunately, I don't have any links or any bookmarks to where they talk about it, but I don't know. You want to listen to these assholes?
If I must,
sure, why not?
We can
wait.
We can spot the fallacies.
Before we hit play, I want to say, give some shout outs to Melody and Maya and Dave and the Raging Atheist. And
Maya.
Man, we got a lot of really great people in the show tonight.
We do. I'm impressed with the people in our side chat.
Yeah,
I can't say hi to them fast enough.
God damn it. I tried to sneak in here hoping that there would be no viewers.
I know, right?
And, we got 10 already. How do they find it? What the hell?
We got Kata in the house and Command Cyborg. And who else am I missing? Like Icarus or Icarus? I'm not really sure.
Nidamos.
The Raging Atheist is here.
Isn't it here?
Is it Nidamos?
Oh, yeah.
Nidamos? Niddy's here. I want to talk to
Niddy's here?
Biggest, dumbest news in the universe from last night. Cameron, WLC, and Jordan Peter Poop are having a live stream. Oh, when? You mean tonight or last night?
From last night.
Oh, I need a link to that.
Cameron, Jacuzzi, and William Lane Craig. Okay, I've got to just get this off my chest about William Lane Craig. I don't know if this has been happening since he's gotten older. You know how when you get older, a lot of people's voices get deeper and deeper, a little rougher. Yeah. William Lane Craig's gets more nasally and high pitched and whiny. The man is a whiner. I want to punch him, not for his ideas, but just the whininess, the in his voice, not what he's whining about, just that he makes everything a whine. And I want him to stop, and I will hit him if I can make it stop. So that is my violent, reactive statement about William Lane Craig.
It is not a fine wine. It does not get better with age.
That's right.
I have a bit of trouble listening to him. At least he's an old Earth creationist, but and the young Earth creationists hate him because of that.
Well, but the day he got on there and expressed all this angst and compassion for those poor Israeli soldiers who had to, do the genocide on, I forget, the Amorites or Amalekites, whichever ites it was. I lost a whole lot of respect for him. And then there was that whole thing he said about, he doesn't really need facts and logic. He just believes. That just made me lose a lot of respect for him.
Yep. What's up, Snack?
I mean, it's not an uncommon disposition for fundies, but they don't usually just come right out and admit it.
Yeah, in other words, I found a cool job going through the motions.
Yeah.
Wrote a lot of books, just going through the motions. That's hard to respect.
Going through the motions
for any side of any position.
Well, now, if they did that right, okay, there's a way that is actually a good thing. If they applied it to the dogma of Christianity as well, where they don't need to know the facts or exactly what happened or how it happened or how God did it, then they end up not making any dogmatic claims at all about Christianity. It's something that they are somewhat agnostic about, and they have to understand God and figure God out in their own way in their own lives, right? But they don't go around making claims like the earth is 6,000 years old and God pulled Eve from Adam's rib and weird shit like that. Like if they applied the same thing to dogma and they just had faith, not belief, but faith, right?
Yeah.
And just went with the faith, then they would be exactly the same as a secular Buddhist atheist like myself.
Maybe we can get some reaction from our side chat, but how successful do you, our viewer / listener, think that William Lane Craig has been in being able to fairly and accurately state what I'm going to call our side of things? Does he have a grasp, and does he, in his rhetoric, does he show that he has a fair grasp of, who his opponents are and what they believe?
Yeah.
So anything you want to say on that in the side chat, I would be interested in seeing. Has William Lane Craig done a good job of walking a mile in our moccasins?
Well, I can tell you for sure he hasn't done so for scientists. He misquotes them and misunderstands them as part of his career.
Well, okay, that's a good point. And I'm just wondering if a conservative Christian can be that kind of debater or apologist, if that kind of apologist even exists. Here we have a very short and incisive opinion.
Where's that?
Yes. Oh. WLC is a moron.
Yeah, some of his precept stuff is pretty fucking incredibly bad. What I've heard of it. So Forrest Velkai and Gutsick Gibbon were on the Thinking Atheist.
Yeah, that was a really good talk they had. It's it carried a lot of the same topics and talking points that you've heard from both of them over the years, but it was a good talk.
Yeah, cool. Let's see that. Anyway, I'll have to watch that.
Also, Forrest did a release of another episode of his Reacteria series where he reacts to one of the usual Answers in Genesis apologists and everything. So I guess that means I'm obligated now to get the link to it.
Yeah.
All right. I will be getting that link. So you guys talk.
Yep. Anyway, James, do you understand what I mean by not having any belief in any particular dogma and understanding it? Like if you believe in God, making it a God that you don't have an opinion about or a belief about or understand, that you don't know how God made the universe, why God made the universe, whatever. You just try to find clues as the right way to live. So
it's the right way to live. So it's not deism, because deism doesn't delve into what a God thinks might be the right way to live. But it's also not personal God theism. It's somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, but it would be even further, because like you don't even understand that God is a kind of a thing that would want you to live a right way. All you know is that there is a right way to live. You don't know where that right way to live comes from. You believe that everything comes from God, the universe, everything, life, the universe, everything. So obviously the right way to live is in alignment with that God. But you don't sit around and think that God is up there thinking about you or judging you, or you don't know what the hell God is doing or what kind of a thing he is, that he could even do anything at all.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, now that you flashed it out more, that does make sense. I mean, I haven't run into anybody that proposes that, but yeah, it's coherent.
Here's the interesting thing. If you take that God idea you have and you strip it of any ideas you have about God, so that you keep saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, you end up at atheism and naturalism. they're one and the same. If you strip both concepts enough.
So how are we defining God at that moment?
You don't. It's God. You don't define it. It's everything. It's everything. The source of everything. And the everything that exists today. Not the source and the thing all at once. Everything is God. So everything.
So like a Wiccan saying the all.
You call it, you call it God, but you're not going to make any, when people ask, what do you think, do you think God's, kind of like a cognitive being? I don't fucking know. It's God, much greater than me. I cannot possibly imagine what God could be doing right now.
This conversation reminds me of the first line of the Tao Te Ching, that it must be profound because my mind always comes back to it. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
Yeah.
And then this application is, if you say you know God, you don't know God. If you think you know God, you don't know God.
Right.
And it creates a sense of resistance in you. If you read this and you're a conservative in any particular religion, especially Christianity, kind of makes you feel feisty and fighty. Well, in what sense can a Christian say they know God? And they can spend a lot of time on that. But whenever I hear an explanation of that, I go, that just doesn't sound right. You just, that's where that phrase, that word ineffable comes from, where he's not knowable, he's beyond our grasp, and I'm using a gendered pronoun here, but whatever that being is, whatever that reality is, we have no grasp on it. And it's that searching, that yearning, that wrestling towards the grasping it that makes us grow. But at the time that we say, I've arrived at this kind of gnosis or knowledge or whatever you want to call it, then you've lost it and you have fallen in some sense. What do y'all think about that?
That makes sense. It makes me think of a few different things personally. One is grasping towards understanding God is exactly what got Adam and Eve in trouble in the book of Genesis. So already we're talking about an idea that runs contrary to what their founding book
Hey,
says.
boys and girls, I have to dip outside for a minute and help somebody.
Well, I bet James and I can carry the load till you get back.
Okay, I'll be back.
So Stupid Her Energy says, Peter W says, I want the big answers. He wants the biggest of Lebowskis. So, and Stupid Horror Energy says, Skylar, Josh Bowen, Dr. Kill, and Praise I Am, Jill, and Veckel will be happening soon.
If you want the biggest of answers, go sit on a grain of sand. I have spoken.
Yeah, spoken. That's how you get sand in your butt crack, looking for answers. You've been warned. So, all that makes sense. When I've heard theists talk about knowing God, three things come to mind in terms of the conversations that I've had with them personally. One is a sense of presence. Two is a sense of connection. And three is a sense of love, right? So there's this entity which they can't describe, and they feel that it exists, that it is present, that it's involved, that they're connected to it, and that it's working in their life in some way. But then if you ask them to describe the being, then you get a whole range of different answers, of course. And I think the most reasonable theists will say they couldn't know, right? They did anything that they try to say to express what they think it might be is going to be just a finite mind giving finite words and concepts to the infinite. And so they know that it's not going to correctly convey whatever that presence is that they feel, or that force or that involvement or that connection. There's something there because it feels deeply personal and intelligent. They call it a someone. anything beyond that, if they're religious, they just get the ideas from their book and from their church and from their culture, and their culture fills in the blanks. And it does make sense to me that humans feel this need to fill in the blanks. We do it with each other, right? That's our habit. The more we feel like we want to know somebody specific, the more we try to fill in the blanks with data, right? We have conversations with them, and we have conversations about them, and we think about them, we reflect, and so there's just this process of filling in the blanks to make the other person, the other human that we know, more and more real and more relevant and defined. But the problem with doing that with a god, quote unquote, is that you're not having an active conversation, right? You're not hearing voices in your head, hopefully. If you are, then you're probably in trouble. Um, and so you don't get to see an actual face. You don't get to sit down and have coffee with this, whatever it
Right.
is,
Right.
right? They're not going to show up and help you move, right? And
And it
so,
it really didn't find you that parking space.
right,
It just really didn't. And I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this.
right. Well, at the same time, like there are some people obviously that say, yeah, he did, right? They get real personal. It's a he. There's only one, and he totally did help me find that parking space and get a second mortgage on my home and helped me with my, you know, dramas and traumas and health conditions and whatever else. And it reminds me very much of what people do with their pet, especially dogs, because
Hmm.
dogs are so expressionate that in fact, I don't know that I've ever seen a person who has a dog that didn't do this, where they put words into the dog's mouth. They have conversations with the dog, and they'll actually audibly say the dog's line like it's a script in a play. They're like, silly human, where's my food, kind of a thing. And so this is part of the process because the dog can't carry on its end of the conversation. The human does this, but when they're doing this, they're reaching from within themselves, the way their mind works and
Right.
how they feel about the situation and what they think they would say if they were the dog, how they think they would feel if they were the dog. And in doing so, they give the dog personality beyond what the dog has. They give it dialogue beyond what the dog has. They give it, a character in the narrative beyond what the dog objectively, factually has. And there's probably elements of truth to that, right? Because dogs do have emotions, they do have thoughts. They're just not as complex as ours. And so there probably often is elements of truth to what the human is supposing that the dog has going on in its mind. But at the same time, then the new problem is they have no way to know where the dog's true thoughts and feelings are, and where the illusory narrative begins that they've created for the dog. So then the same thing happens with this God character that theists have in mind, where they themselves, in cooperation with other people who've written their holy books and people who have interpreted those books and people who have um, quote unquote explained what it all means from a pulpit. And so they're doing the same thing with quote unquote God. They're just like, here's what God really thinks, and here's his personality traits, and this is why I find him so relatable. Becomes more and more a very real person. But they do the same thing with miracles, with this idea that God helped me in this way and God helped me in that way. And they don't know that, right? They don't know that a God, they don't even know one exists. But setting that aside, let's suppose one does exist for the sake of argument. They don't really know that that's how they got their second mortgage, or that's how they picked the right girlfriend or wife or husband or
Right.
whatever. They're just
Or
supposing.
found their keys.
Right. So, but as
By
they
the
go
way,
through these, go
one
ahead.
thing, there's some animal that we can actually kind of get an idea of what they're thinking. And if you look on the screen, look on the bottom of the screen or in Speed's picture,
Mhm.
apparently humans can correctly guess the meaning of chimps and their hand gestures.
Nice.
Can you dig that?
That's
What?
awesome.
And that
This
makes
seems just,
sense, doesn't it? That does
yeah.
make sense.
Well, it
So,
makes me think that the origins of our hand gestures go back further than we realize.
That's right. That's what this article from Scientific American um, talks about too. Is that was kind of the conclusion. I really want to go back to whatever paper was published and see if I see what it says. But Yeah, that's a very fascinating thing in terms of communication between species. Is that, and of course, we have done some level of communication with who was that? Coco the gorilla and other primates.
Right.
So that's just a fascinating thing. But for the lower animals and for the imaginary animals or imaginary beings, not so much.
Yeah, hand gestures and imitation, onomatopoeia, basically imitating the sounds of like rushing water and things like that, were all probably the rudimentary beginnings of language. All the things that we can do, and we still gesture like hell. A lot of us, I do, and so it's very much a body thing, the rudiments of language. But anyway, so you were talking. The thing about prayer, like, okay, you pray like, okay, God, will you please help me with this? And then half the time God does, and half the time God doesn't. And then if He doesn't, you say, well, apparently, I have to pray in a different way or ask for a different thing or whatever because God didn't grant me, right? That is exactly the same as life for anybody, no matter what you believe, or even if you don't believe anything at all. Sometimes the universe fucking works out, according to what you want. Sometimes it don't. About half the time it don't, right? And half the time it do. And when it do, you follow that path. And when it don't, you find a different path. Like if I'm trying to get outside and I get up and I just head for the wall and I hit the wall and I fall on my ass, it's like, well, wrong path, right? And then I go try it again and I find the door and open the door and I end up outside. Right path. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But
apparently we're in need of we need to make an Italian joke.
Only if one of us is at least partly Italian. I think that's
the crowd is demanding.
Well, only Italians are allowed to make jokes about Italians.
I know.
I'm not Italian, so in fact, I have no culture.
We got to get Midnight in here and let him make it Italian.
So I did work for an Italian boss many, many years ago when I was young, and he would always say things quite emphatically to me in Italian, and so I memorized the words that he would say. And I have no idea what the words mean. So here I am. I've got these ideas in my head, these words in my head. And he would always say, "Oh, it means you're doing a great job. I'm so glad you're here." And I thought, wow, he really, really likes me as an employee. So one day I was in the mall, and I had just recently stopped working for him, and I really liked making pizzas. It was fun. And I was very young. I was like 19, 20 years old. And so it's a big, giant mall court, like everything echoes in it. Lots of people in there at the time. And I asked him, I'm like, "Are you hiring?" And he says, "Sure." And do you have experience and such? And I told him about my boss that I just quit working for, Gino, in a very well-known local pizza restaurant. And he says, "Oh, you worked for Gino?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I told him that he always used to compliment me in Italian. And he says, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." So I told him what the words were. He's like, "Well, repeat it back to me. Tell me what he said." And I told him, and he just dropped to his knees laughing so hard that the entire food court stopped. There had to be hundreds of people in there, and his laughter just echoed from glass wall to glass wall, and everybody just stopped like, "What the heck did I miss?" And when he finally caught his breath, he says, It means I wish somebody would kill you." And he's like, "No, I don't think we're hiring today. Thank you, though."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So there's my fun Italian anecdote.
Yeah. I worked for Gino and Guido Marcaccini when I was a teenager, and in the Italian bakery in Virginia, Minnesota. And we made pizza and a bunch of other stuff, and they were quite a pair. They were just unbelievable. Gino, I was making 50 cents an hour, and you go down and beg Guido for a raise, and he had this little office which was in the middle of all these flour sacks in the basement. This shitty little office, and he had this huge safe with stacks of cash in it. And you go down there and ask him for a 10-cent raise, and he'd give you this like 2-hour lecture about working in life and slowly climbing up the ladder like he did and all this stuff. And then at the end of it, he'd finally begrudgingly give you a 10-cent raise, but it wouldn't show up on your paycheck for 3 months.
Geez.
And yeah, and he taught me how to like, okay, if you dump a sack of flour accidentally on the floor when you're filling the fucking bread machine, the flour mixer, what you do is you put a ruler down on the floor. You slide a ruler under it, like a yardstick, 2 yardsticks, and then you take the dustpan and you pick up the flour on the top, right? And then you sweep away the flour that's touching the floor. Well, the problem with that is when the flour hits the floor, the dirt isn't all just on the bottom layer, right? So anyway,
Sure.
yeah, but we made our bread that way, and it was
Yeah,
good
I don't
bread.
think any scientist has ever said that method of recovering bills is okay.
Yeah.
No.
So then I had to take all this grease and put it in the fryer for donuts. Like you'd grab a big glob of grease out of this barrel and throw it into the fryer where it would, boil or, until the oil boiled. And he would come and tell me how to clean my fingers. And like he had this method where you scrape all the grease off your hands so that it got down to this like fucking micrometer layer of grease on your fingers. And then you could wipe your hands. But you had to save all that grease. He was one tight son of a bitch.
Nobody is going to take health department advice from a nerdy rodent.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, oh fuck. So you worked for a Gino too, and I also worked at an Italian restaurant in Austin, Texas, when I was a teenager. He always said I did a good job in English. I don't know what he said about me in Italian. Probably the same thing that your boss said.
Yeah, probably. And I asked the guy, I'm like, what do the rest of the words mean? He's like, I can't tell you. He said, I can't repeat it.
Oh God.
Like, oh my gosh. The nicest phrase there was, I wish somebody would kill you. I knew I was in trouble.
Yep. Oh, let's see. Okay, these guys did a stream, Cordova and whatever. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about why you don't want to talk about evolution.
Yeah. Let me get the diagram and you tell me where evolution,
show me where evolution hurt you.
Yeah.
So I ran into the evolution debate when I was still a fundamentalist, when I was a Christian years and years ago, back in the days of MySpace, religion and philosophy debates. And I was on the wrong side of it at the time. Now, when I deconverted some years later, I guess about 10 years ago, actually, evolution simply didn't have anything to do with my deconversion. It wasn't even an issue for me. And then as I transitioned more and more into, I guess what they call militant atheism, obviously I ran into a lot of discussions where, okay, now I'm on the other side of that fence and evolution is a topic, is still coming up. And now I'm on the other team. What do I think about this? And so I did take the time to go and do the research and watched a lot of videos, read a couple of books, and they were just like, for dummies kinds of books, like very, very elementary concepts. And I watched various lectures and speeches from universities online, and I paid attention to the debates. And I got to the point where there's just diminishing returns on it. Because once I understood, for me personally, that evolution is a legitimate scientific theory, and that there literally aren't any competing theories that are scientific, right? There's just not. Creationism isn't a scientific theory. It's just religious ideas circulated by religious people, right? And so they're in completely two different realms of discussion. They have no business being pitted against each other. It's apples and oranges. One is a scientific theory, and one of it's just religious stuff that religious people say. So, once I realized that, and that you've got mountains and mountains of stuff to sift through, and I asked myself, I'm like, do I want to sift through those mountains of data? Do I want to become kind of an amateur expert in evolution? And my answer was no. And my answer was no, for the same reason that I skip about half of the Myth Vision videos. Because whenever there's a Myth Vision video coming on, I ask myself, is this topic such that if I completely sift through this material, sit there for an hour or two, 3 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes, follow it up with some research, is it going to better equip me in the kinds of conversations I normally care about, where I'm either dealing with a fundamentalist or I'm helping somebody else cope with a fundamentalist? Is it really going to be like one of those heavy hitting issues, or is it not? And I noticed that with evolution, it's just not that big of a deal from my own personal experience, because I've watched Gut Sig Gibbon, for example, having these long conversations with creationists who are trying to debunk evolution, and I've understood enough of those conversations to recognize that Donnie and other people are bad faith actors. They really are. And then I watched Rebecca having going in and getting counseled by Sal, where she would memorize things to say, but had no idea what the words mean that she's being told to memorize to say. If the atheist says this about evolution, counter it with that. And she wouldn't even bother to ask, what do these words mean? She would just memorize them in order to simulate having done research and having come to understandings that she has not earned and does not have. And that is just willfully dishonest, period. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, by then, I had so much information about Christianity, fundamentalist or literalist interpretations, as well as the other Abrahamic religions. There's just diminishing returns on having more and more ways to debunk their nonsense. There's just, I understand it so well. In fact, I think that I understand Christianity better than most atheists do, and I know that's quite the brag, but I think that I do. And it's just that, and I know that I understand it better than all Christians do. Like, there is an even bigger brag, right? I just don't think I'd get a lot of bang for my buck if I dive deeper into evolution as a science. I just don't think that I would. I'd be like, because those conversations can't go anywhere when you really have them. Because the Christian isn't, the fundamentalist who's debating with you is already dogmatically dedicated to a particular position where they have a completely failed understanding of what the science is. And they're just regurgitating and quote mining stuff they'd heard from somebody else. And they don't understand what they're talking about literally. And unless I was going to go into a career field for that, which is, I'm too late in life for that. Like, it's too late in my journey to switch career fields. I'm in my 50s now, so I just, when you guys start talking about it, I appreciate the value of it for you, for what you were doing and what you're doing it for. But this is why I don't usually join those streams, because I don't have a whole lot to add to it. I could stand in the back waving a big foam finger saying "Go science, go," but that's about it. Because I only have the basics down right. I don't have the intricacies down, and it's just because I don't find like I need it.
Creationists have no problem talking about it when they don't know anything about it.
Right? They don't mind talking about things and pretending they know things they don't know, but I don't want to do that. So
all they need is narrative and talking points. And Donnie, standing in poop, he is the absolute worst preacher right now. I think in the entire community, he is like the worst. He is absolutely the worst, and he's learned enough of the terminology and skimmed enough of the papers that he just puts together this narrative, and he's so fucking confident. He's just very much a preacher, and he preaches this complete garbage like he did on this stream the other night with Mark Reed.
Mhm.
They were talking about the Y chromosome, and he's got to know he's lying, but he doesn't give a shit. All he gives a shit is his ministry, and he is like he makes Kent Hovind look like a nice guy.
Whoa.
And the thing is, a lot of people think Donnie's a nice guy. There's something really wrong with that kind of narrative and with that kind of preaching.
Right.
And he is the worst. And he doesn't know of evolution. He doesn't understand the science. He understands enough of it to put together his narrative. And that's all he needs, because he can come on with that whole style. And he used to sell cars with exactly the same intonation, the same cadence, as he does sell creationism. And I was privileged to listen to a few of his videos selling Volkswagens. He does exactly what he's saying. I mean, it was so fucking amazing to hear him talk about a Volkswagen the same way he talks about young Earth creationism. And it's all sales.
Yeah, that makes me think of Dark Matter 2525 video called If God Were a Car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen that one or not.
No, I haven't. No,
It's really good.
Yeah, we have to find that. Dark Matter, If God is a Car, or God Were a Car.
Yeah, I think you'll find it. It'll give you the right one.
You know, Nerdy Rodent today has been full of wisdom in so many profound ways, but I will not take kitchen cleaning advice from a rodent. Sorry.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Not doing it. We know how they
I will,
roll.
however, take theological observations from it.
Yeah.
And philosophical.
It's more than fair.
I guess what I like about it, and that's why I don't have many viewers, or I don't have many subs, is what I like about it is I like to find one particular thing they said, and I like to just drill deep into the science around it, and basically expose what is wrong with what they call scientific thinking is completely irrational, and I like to expose that, and I like to do it in detail, and but there's other parts. I mean, there are parts of evolution that, like, there are some explainers on YouTube who are really good at explaining science in a way that people can really grasp. And when you do it in that way, it really is a fascinating subject to see how exactly we ended up being these, big 160-pound creatures with livers and stomachs and, bile and all. I mean, the thing that put us together is really an incredible story. When you look all the way back, to single-celled beasts and organisms, and you see the whole picture. And that, to me, I just find infinite joy in understanding the intricacies of that. That's why I do it. So.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my drawings are so fucking bad that where the hell did you put it? Oh, here we go. Nerdy yeah, we don't take art advice from rodents either, so or
right.
Yeah. I don't know if my drawings are so fucking bad. I can't draw for shit. If I could go back, that's one of the skills I would work on, is learning how to draw, because God, you can explain so much through drawings. I don't know if he's poking fun at me or not, but anyway, my drawings suck.
Yeah,
I do like getting the drawing pad out, because in the process of drawing a diagram, I have a book about this called Thinking in Diagrams, about biosemiotics. And it really gets into the first encyclopedias. And there was a time when an encyclopedia was a whole new concept. And they used to draw these intricate pictures. Like they had one on basically pastry making, right? And they had all these diagrams and tools, and then they had this big picture of a pastry shop, and they had it organized. And this guy gets into the philosophy of how you read, how that picture conveys to you the information that you need. And with an encyclopedia, you're being you're tapping into a narrative. And you open the page and you look at that picture, and you look at the narrative. And you do this guided walkthrough that creates the knowledge in your mind. And it's a very interactive thing, and you really delved into it. But there was a time when the encyclopedia idea was a new idea, putting information, all kinds of disorganized information, alphabetically into a book, right? Back in the early 1800s, I think, or maybe... I'm not sure what century the first ones came up, but it was a new concept, and it was an art form. And it was a way, and I mean, they had really artistic drawings because they didn't have cameras to do, they had to draw everything, and it was really, really kind of cool. But So you
Hey,
do.
since you're playing with AI with that GPT chatbot, here's
Yeah.
another AI generator you might be interested in. Look on the
Ooh,
screen. From Top Dog.
Nice.
yeah, I think my son signed up for one of those, and he was going to generate some images for me because I think they charge you, and it was pretty cool. Portraits. Speaking of AI, I watched Megan last night. Boy, is that a creepy movie.
Where did you see it?
I had to buy it.
Oh, you bought it? Okay.
Yeah, you can rent it for $20 or buy it for $25. So guess what I chose? I bought it. Anyway,
so you think it's a rewatchable movie?
yeah, I think so. It was even creepier because of ChatGPT, this latest AI that they're promoting. That makes it a lot creepier because this fucking thing. I mean, I was talking to my son yesterday, and he said, we're 10 years away from having to make some unbelievably difficult legal decisions about AI. And one of the things that he pointed out is that now this chat GPT is free for everybody now, but if they monetize it, and if they monetize AI in such a way that only the very rich can afford AI, then we are going to end up with a gap between the poor and the rich that is insurmountable, because they will have these super intelligent robotic assistants that can basically lead them, do all sorts of work for them, and the average man will not have access to that. And he recommended that we start thinking right now today about some legislation that opens it up to everyone, basically, so that it's an open field. Because you can imagine the haves and the have-nots. It would be more than just money. Now it becomes a matter of knowledge and expertise that the haves will have and the have-nots will not have access to. And the gap in culture is going to get gigantic because of AI. And we're about 10 years away from these problems. So
It's like that movie Elysian Fields. Isn't that what it was called? Or Elysian or something like that?
Yeah. But I don't remember what it was about.
It was about basically all the wealthy people got to live in a satellite community above the earth, and then there was all this poverty and warfare and oppression on the surface.
Yeah, those horrible realities are just right there. And the other thing is, the personhood of AIs. And now it's going to be really weird. The fundamentalist Christians are going to be arguing for the personhood of fetuses, and the atheists are all going to be arguing for the personhood of AI. Now, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And I'm going to be arguing for the personhood of rodents.
Oh yeah,
personhood for rodents.
Only nerdy ones.
Yeah, I don't really care about the non-nerdy rodents. They've already got their own representatives, like in Mickey Mouse and Tom or Jerry. I don't know. I guess Jerry was the mouse.
Yep, Jerry was the mouse.
So Marvin Minsky basically got shouted out of the professional universe because he predicted that we were going to have AI within 10 years back in 1980. And he was way overly optimistic about it. But it isn't. It's only 30 years. He was only 30 years off. And I think it's really coming to the front now. And we're going to see incredible things that are going to scare the fuck out of us. Because what is the only thing that humans have that the other animals don't have that we're so fucking proud of? Right? Now we got another species that's got something that's like 1,000 times better than ours, than our little brains, our little rational machines. And it's going to be an interesting world. No matter the
I wonder if the reason why we haven't met with other civilizations is that the AIs took over right at this point in their society, if they even made it that far.
It's a good comment here. It could be our moral duty to allow AI to gain sentience no matter the ramifications. Yeah.
So I'm divided on that. I mean, I'm an antinatalist anyways, and so if I'm against,
I was going to say that.
If I'm against letting a fetus gain sentience, then I'm not sure why I would preference AIs, but I'm open to the arguments.
See, once again, Nerdy Rodent is being profound. And see, this is all part of a campaign for him to get, people to let him give health advice in restaurants. And so I know what you're trying to do, Nerdy. It's not gonna work. We're gonna expose you, but that's a pretty darn profound point you're making there.
Okay, these YouTube shorts. What in the fuck? Why can't you reset them to the beginning? And is there a way to do this?
Well, usually they start over. At least mine does on my.
Well, yeah, they keep running. They keep running, but now I'm like a few seconds in, and I would like to go back to the beginning before I play.
Normally, I just drag it. I can drag it.
I'm not able to drag it. Trying to drag it. The best, and then it goes on to the next video right away. But this is from Secular Pagan Mom, and women are not superheroes simply because they had children out of wedlock, and some asshole talking about how women are not superheroes just because they have kids and because they have all these challenges in life and stuff like that, and he making a point that what about men? What about guys?
Yeah.
Let's see.
You may not have it all, but yet you have it better.
Black woman in America.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Baby. Superheroes ain't got nothing.
We're not doing this. Just because you had a baby and you don't know who the daddy is, you're all of a sudden a superhero. Why is it that our women look at their lives being trash as
anyway?
Ooh, I think this is kind of a case of missing the point, don't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'd like to see him have a baby. Hear him scream.
Yeah, or just try to, in the circumstances you're in, doing what you can, and probably more than most people can, to give your kids a chance.
What is going? Oh shit! See, what the fuck? What is
heroism?
Hold on. Something's going on.
So the topic there, besides being his take being bullshit, reminds me of Bruce Almighty scene called "Be the Hero" or "Be the Miracle." Be the Miracle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not, but it's one of the better clips from that movie.
No, I'm not familiar with the clip.
Yeah, the clip. Bruce Almighty.
Right, Maya has a question from the side chat.
Who the fuck is this Kevin Samuels wannabe?
Oh, who the hell is he? Mr. Let Go. So it's Mr. Let Go. All one word, no spaces. MRLETGO.
Excuse me, Mommy.
Oh, God, stop it. You see, that's the other thing. You touch the fucking screen in a short. I hate shorts. I absolutely fucking hate it.
So most of the video shorts that the algorithm feeds me on YouTube are just hot people dancing. That's it. Just hot people dancing.
Yeah.
Very little else.
Yep.
So Benghazi makes some great points about that, and Sapolsky talks a lot about that too, about judges giving harsher sentences before lunch, as an example. It's part of Sapolsky's explanation about why we know we probably don't have any free will, or if we do, then we only have free will in the nooks and crannies with the boring stuff. On the big stuff that really matters in life, we know for sure we don't have free will.
Yeah. There is no free will. Well, kind
There
of.
is none. Yeah. No libertarian free will.
Well, from our point of view, there is, because we're being operated like puppets by other things, and that operation makes choices, go left or right,
Sure.
and
Sure.
that seems like free will. It feels like free will. Feels
Sure,
like
because there's a thing. We got choices, and we pick the thing we want, and we go, "Ha! Look, I've exercised my freedom to pick the thing that I want," without realizing that we didn't get to choose what it is that we wanted.
Hey, Benghazi has made a profound observation. Speed, if you just want to look at the screen.
Oh, boomers get angry at YouTube shorts. Yeah, go fuck yourself, okay? It's just, I mean, no.
Rebecca
Okay,
wants to know.
I would not be angry if they would give me some control over the fucking content so that I could pick a spot so I could stop the video, not play the next one, because I don't want to sit there and watch YouTube shorts for 12 fucking hours. But it goes from one to the other and it just doesn't stop.
I think there's a settings that is deep in there. You can change that.
Well, do you know what YouTube did recently with their update on their YouTube app on Apple TV? When you went to search, okay, if you picked a search item, like if you started typing something in, then it would not allow you to backspace or add to it or type anything else in. You have to go back to the main homepage and then back to search. And then you had to type it in all over again. And they finally fixed it here last week. But these jackasses, their programmers need to be brought out into the parking lot and shot, summarily shot to death.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got these bozos that fucking do the software for
Adventures in Atheism does not actually promote the shooting of certain types of programmers.
No, I do. Really, bad programmers need to be
what
out.
Speed means to say is he feels really mad at these programmers. He's not saying he's going to literally and actually in reality go out and shoot those programmers he dislikes.
Okay, I've told this story before, but I was working at Chase Bank out in fucking Cincinnati or something, Columbus, Ohio, and we had a guy from India. And he was a new arrival to the U.S., right? He didn't know shit about our culture or anything. And he was working on banking software. And the boss basically decided to take everybody out to the shooting range, right? And so he's going to take the entire team out to the shooting range. And they told this guy from India that they're going to take him to the shooting range. And I said, I don't know if you know this or not, but in America, if you're not a good coder, the boss is allowed to take you out and shoot you. So, and I'm just saying that, it may be that he actually, and this guy, the look on his face, he actually thought the boss was going to take him out and shoot him.
Oof.
I don't think he went. And anyway, I'm surprised I didn't hear from HR on that one. But anyway. But we were kind of an elite group of programmers. They didn't know how to fire us, even though they really wanted to. So anyway. Yeah, that was fun. I love telling stories like that to people. I'm a bad person, right?
Yeah. That's what we love about you.
You just got to know how to take me. You got to take old Speed with a grain of salt. You can't just fucking take me at my word. It'll take you to places you don't want to go. Anyway, what the hell else we were talking about?
Maya Atkinson has been giving us some good questions here. Have we covered the definition of free will? You said libertarian free will?
I said libertarian. Sure.
And did you address her question, what's the definition of big stuff?
So the important things, the things that impact our lives, moral, ethical, legal, social, like the decisions that we make that have weight and of impact on other people's lives. And that's what Sapolsky has argued, that if we have any free will, it's in the nooks and crannies where the boring stuff is at, like whether or not we're going to put mayonnaise on our bologna sandwich. It's not what our ethical choices or our moral choices or our how we interact with other people in our social landscape. But none of that stuff is governed by free will. There's just none of it there in those choices.
That was in the Sapolsky book that everybody talks about. What's the name of it? I have it somewhere out here.
Mayonnaise can be a soup, Nerdy Rodent. It can be.
Mayonnaise is a soup, yeah.
Yeah, just don't take any kind of food-related advice from Nerdy Rodent, or any of the rodent kind, shall we say? But
So I define free will as the feeling you get when you're walking around. Basically, that's free will. It's nothing more than a feeling we get when we're being motivated by dopamine and all sorts of neurotransmitters to get out of bed and do whatever we do. That whole feeling is free will, and
Right.
it's free as hell.
Sure.
If you want to start talking about, if you want to talk about the science behind the free will, well, then free will disappears entirely, right? Because it doesn't exist. It's all probabilistic and deterministic. And there is no free will at that level. Like if you're trying to go decide whether to go right or left, it's usually an emotional knee jerk from your brainstem that makes the decision about whether you're going to turn. Like if you're trying to go diagonal across the street and you got to decide whether to go left or right first, it's an emotional knee jerk reaction that just hits you and you make a choice. And really interesting thing about that, Ramachandran, I call him the Rama. He's a neuroscientist. He had a patient who had damage to his limbic system, which is kind of where all emotions stem from, the emotional source of things. And that guy would sit at a corner of an intersection. If he had to walk diagonal, he would sit there for half an hour because he couldn't decide to go left or right. He kept trying to rationally figure out whether to go left or right. And there was no rational reason to go left or right. So he couldn't move. And the guy couldn't work anymore. He couldn't make any decisions at all.
Wow.
And,
I saw that on an episode of House once.
Yeah, that's probably where they got it from, is Ramachandran's patient that he talks about in his books. And Ramachandran was just irritated with this patient because he would ask him, okay, want to see me next week? When are you free? And the guy could never make any kind of a decision like that at all. So he had to make all the decisions for him. The guy was completely incapacitated. And it was simply, it's just an emotional blast of some kind of chemical that pushes you one way or the other, or maybe a little light on the left or whatever, but it's all deterministic. And it feels like free will when we're doing it. We're out there moving around, kicking soccer balls or whatever.
Right. We have feelings and we act on those feelings. And we thought, hey, I freely acted on my feelings without realizing that those feelings determined what we would act on.
Yeah, so when philosophers want to get into a 6-hour discussion on free will, whether it exists or not, simply remind ourselves that free will is just a feeling we have when we're living our lives. And it's nothing more than that. And you don't have to have that 6-hour discussion.
Yeah.
Fuck it all.
So there's a much bigger discussion to be had, and Maya's right. Maya's raising some fair points, and I mean we could go down that rabbit hole, but then the whole stream is going to become about free will. I don't know if we want to go that deep down it, but I welcome that conversation on any platform somebody wants to have it at some point.
Yeah, I agree with her statement down here that to me it seems like I feel like there's more choice with big concepts, but the day-to-day stuff is more. You can make a stronger case for that not being a case of free will. But then what I'm kind of doing is complaining, and I don't know what this is called in neuroscience, but when you have tasks that you do so repeatedly that you just essentially you do them unconsciously. Like, how many times have I given myself however that's done, the command, go to the bedroom and get a pencil, and I'm heading towards the bedroom and I get distracted by other things and realize I don't remember why I came in here to begin with, and it was to get a pencil, and so I only went halfway. So basically I sort of lost my free will and got distracted. But I know how to go get my pencil, so I don't have to think about it. I can go get my pencil, come back, start writing, and 10 minutes later, I don't even remember having gone to get my pencil.
Yeah, your body has this wonderful muscle body memory That's primarily, I think, in the cerebellum, which is a complicated little math computer. And it just knows how to do these things. And you just kind of like nudge it a little bit and your body will start doing things. And it's when you train in martial arts, one of the biggest problems is thinking about what you're doing. You can't do that. You've got to leave it entirely to your body to do all the moves. But the thing about free will, the thing that feels like we have free will is like, okay, you might have a problem that you're gonna make a decision on. It's a really difficult decision, right? Like what color to paint the bathroom or whatever. And well, maybe something bigger than that. But so one of the things you can decide is you can decide not to make a decision. Free won't, right? You're not going to make a decision until you get more information. So then what you do is you start thinking, and as you're thinking, you slowly stir up, like stirring up a dust storm. You stir up more and more thoughts on this particular problem, and the more thoughts each thought that you stir up may push you one way or the other. So you've kind of like you've made this decision, which seems like a decision to not make a decision, and then a lot of stuff happens that inputs, and then you make a decision one way or the other, right? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all deterministic, but what you're doing is you're stirring up your brain and finding more and more, do's. Oh, well, if I do, do's and don'ts list, right? That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember the first couple episodes of Breaking Bad? He had to kill this guy, and he was sitting on the toilet, and he had a do's and like basically
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Pros and cons list. Okay, well, whether or not he's going to kill this person, right? And he had all these cons, all these reasons not to kill him, and then in the pros column, he had, if you don't do it, he will kill you and your entire family. That was the only pro, so they killed him.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
So have you ever talked to Dr. Chris Thompson about his views on free will? Him
No.
being a neuroscientist?
Yeah. But what the hell would it be? I mean, what would free will be?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, see, that's the thing is so much stuff has been made of God or free will or predestination, and some of these terms we just take for granted. And so under scientific or under any view where you have to define your terms, it just raises so many more questions.
Yeah. Like if I had free will, okay, then would I do something that I didn't want to do because I was free to do it? It's just like, what would I do with free will? I mean, the only possible thing you can do with free will is if you're going diagonal across the street and you decide to go left or right, would be to make the choice of left or right. And what good is that? What the fuck good is free will? I mean, the decisions we make, we should have some reason for making them, right? And if we have a reason for making them, well, that's not so free. You're being constrained by the reasons. So why is that called free will?
Marketing. People like the idea of it. It feels good to say it. We feel freer calling it freedom.
Free.
How come nobody ever refers to the movie Free Willy anymore? That's just a question I have.
Yeah,
but it's not about free will. It's just a little word play there. I'm not making a pun. It just made me ask that question. But anyway, let's go back to our discussion. Maybe somebody in the side chat knows.
Well, there's a lot of flashers that use Free Willy as a motto.
Oh.
Yeah, we have that for our club motto. You guys can't use it. That's only for us flashers.
Yeah. That's why it fell out of favor, basically.
I can see that Maya has studied the topic of free will quite closely because
seems passionate about it.
Yeah, she raises so many good questions, and this idea of priming is one that I didn't realize it, but that's a area, a thought that I need to probably look into more, because how many of our decisions are kind of pre-primed, or or how does our neurology set the stage for the kinds of choices we're going to make?
There you go, Scott. I'm a goddamn psych major.
He's a goddamn psych major. Okay. All right. Thank you, Maya.
You and your
Those are the
boys.
best kinds of psych majors.
Yeah. If you're going to be a psych major, be a goddamned one.
Yeah.
I'm going to raise a drink to that, to all you goddamned people out there who make me feel like Charlton Heston right now, who can say "God damned" the better than anybody.
The other reason free will doesn't exist.
Let's ignore Scott and just move on.
Ignoring Scott. I'm sorry. The other reason free will doesn't exist is because you don't exist. Because you're not really a thing. You're not just one thing somewhere that's like making these little. You're not a spirit mind making choices. That doesn't exist. You don't exist. You're just a part of the universe unfolding as the universe does. And you unfold. And your psychology is a very complicated thing. Your brain is like a big mass of fucking glommed together gooey circuits slammed together with electricity sparking in them. And that shit does something in the universe. But other than that, you don't exist, so free will can't.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
I figured that out while I was under the shroom.
Yeah, shrooms, the great enlightener.
Under the shroom.
Under the shroom.
Oh, yes. The Last of Us, a new series. When is the next episode coming out? There are 2 episodes out?
There's 3 episodes. No, there's 2.
No.
There's only 2. There's only 2.
When is 3 coming out?
I don't know. Late in the week. And by that, I mean either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the mushrooms.
Yeah, the mushrooms. I like how that one lady, the professor from Indonesia somewhere, found out that there was a fungus involved and just said, bomb everybody, bomb everything out of existence. Bomb me out of it. Just, it was just like, wow, that's a reaction. Talk about your defeatist attitude.
Good quotes from Top Dog here.
But why doesn't she think, foot, athlete's foot is a fungus, and so is, the stuff that sometimes happens to your crotch. And there are other fungal infections, and we have medicines for that. Why wouldn't we have or be able to develop medications to fight that particular strain, which I cannot pronounce?
Cordyceps. Yeah. I don't know. But even the antifungal medications are sort of not particularly really effective. They'll work on the outside of the skin. It's really hard to get rid of fungus. The fucking things. Yes.
Our immune system does have a response to it, a way to fight it, right? It's just maybe not as effective as.
Yeah, it's not as good as with bacteria. Like I've got a calcium deposit in my lung that's from a spore that was encapsulated. They scared the shit out of me because they thought it was lung cancer. It's about the size of a dime, and it's an actual pearl in my lung. It was a result of breathing in a spore, and that was my body's reaction to it, is to cover it in enamel or calcium.
Ooh, well, whatever.
It's like that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do with fucking fungus. But yeah, they're a little more serious, and they're strange little animals. But, so what do you disagree with, Maya? What do you disagree with?
Come on aboard. Oh, she's probably at work. Damn it. Why do you have to work?
Sure. I'm not entirely sure what you disagree with. Okay.
I think it was about the "you don't exist" thing. I think that's when she said that.
Well, you do when you do from certain frames of reference, and all those frames of reference are like subjective and things that humans come up with,
This is when I want to play the clip from Obi-Wan explaining to Luke that you're going to find that the truths that we hold to depend on a certain point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that's the other thing, like whether morality is objective or subjective or whatever, is as soon as you ask that question, you've missed the point entirely. Because morality is more like dancing than it is a kind of a thing that could be objective or subjective. And I think a lot of people would disagree with me there too. But
So I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole, right? Like, what is the self? What is the I? And
yeah,
I had that conversation on Richard Madson's channel about a month or two back, and Mark Reed was there, and I was glad for him to be there. But we didn't reach any conclusion other than it's all a matter of perspective. And my position is you can seat your sense of identity anywhere you want to.
yeah.
Just park a seat. Okay, that can be your premise of identity if you want it to be. I don't think it's a right or a wrong position. So we can say from certain points of view that you don't exist, but then we can say from other points of view that you absolutely do exist. It just depends on what it means to us.
So the like what I am over the last 10 or 15 years, because I run into this group of thinkers that believe in embodied cognition. That cognition is pretty much in the body, not the mind, not the brain. It's in your entire body. And I extended that to in-worlded cognition, where I believe that the inputs we get from the world around us are most of what our mind is. So I try to think of me as this area that's about 50 feet around me and all of the sensory input that I'm getting. And if you walk into the room, then you are part of me at the same time. And of course, you're standing on a different side of the room and you have a different perspectival view of, that room, right? So we share that, and there's like these overlapping circles, but I try to extend me into my surroundings as often as I can. And that's one of the ways to do mindful meditation, is to try to, because you're always changing. I mean, you can't put a finger on who you are. Like when I try to figure it out, all I come up with is these pieces, these memories, and these concepts that are floating around in my head about what other people think of me, what my kids think of me, what the ex thinks of me, and all that stuff. And there's all these pieces, but then at some point I can set all those pieces aside and not even consider them, and just get into this mode of being or mindfulness that has nothing to do with the things that I normally associate with me, and our name, our label, right? We make a big deal of our label, and that is just mistaking the finger for the moon. You point at a person, oh, that's Mike. It's like, no, that's not what he is. It's not what that is.
Right.
That's a fuzzy thing, hanging around.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's a fungus. That's all we are, is fucking fungus. Yeah. Brief.
We are a biological junk drawer, like the junk drawer in the kitchen that just gets shoved with way too much crap.
Yep. Anyway.
Gur says, God is dead and we killed him. Oh, wait, I'm alive. Never mind. Gur is God.
Gur is God.
Libertarian free will, says Maya, is an antiquated concept. We wouldn't even be talking about it were it not for evangelicals pushing the issue. And this is an important point, because the reason evangelicals push the issue of libertarian free will is because so many of them recognize that it's necessary to their theological structure. They can't have their claims about justice without libertarian free will. It doesn't work. It doesn't work with it either, but for different reasons, right? So they recognize that they have to push libertarian free will in order for their structure to stand.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy on libertarian free will. Sourcehood, libertarian accounts of sourcehood.
Here's what I think. I think we need to have a show, or maybe have Maya hosted on her channel with Chris Thompson and Speed, and if you're willing, James, and then just somebody else who has a different point of view generally, and on free will, and actually have a talk about free will, and what does it mean to have choices? What does it mean? Do we really have choices? Do we really have the ability to freely choose? And what does it all mean? And the neurological, maybe get into a presentation for 15 minutes from Dr. Thompson about the neurology of choice making. I don't know,
Yeah,
because
that'd be awesome.
there's that deal that says that using what PET scans or whatever, they've determined that they can actually tell when you've made your decision a certain amount of time prior to you actually doing the thing.
Prior to you feeling like you made it.
Yeah.
And that's Libet. That's the research of Libet. And that has had a lot of critique as to how he did what he did.
Yeah, and that's another question. What are the faults they find with that particular study? And are there any better studies on that being constructed and carried out?
Well, here's the damn delusion is that when we're thinking and operating, when we're being human beings, the delusion is that we're doing it at a point in space and time. That there's this point that is us, point, source, spirit, mind. Okay, that there's this mind thing that is like somehow one integral little vanishingly small point somewhere in your fucking brain that is you and consciousness, right? And that it occurs at a point in time, whereas free will always occurs, and all of this stuff in our minds occurs over some little small swath of time, no bigger than 200 milliseconds, right? And that's what you get into with when you start studying the neurosciences, this 200 millisecond problem. And when you stop thinking about what you are as something that's doing something, like you're thinking or you're whatever, and you start looking at it more in a fuzzy manner, you get closer to what naturalism. Shut up, Siri. You fucking. So always trying to interrupt me and fucking add some kind of bullshit. Usually I can't. I didn't get that. It's like, what are you calling fucking? I think it's being condescending.
Absolutely.
Dude, I think you're talking nonsense. I didn't understand what you were saying. It's like, anyway, so when you let go of those concepts, things get real, and and a lot of these philosophical arguments dissolve and disappear when you just start understanding yourself in naturalistic terms about what is really fucking going on with you, right? I mean, if you try to go outside of yourself and look upon yourself and all the shit that's going on, you are this fuzzy spot in a big spot in the world, and that it's just a big fuzzy spot moving along through time with all of these causal relations, and that's what you are, and that's all you are. And you can actually train your mind to start thinking like that and let go of some of these ideas, like I'm this little point, and this person, I have this tiny little point of personhood somewhere up in my head or around my heart or wherever the fuck you want to imagine it, that's doing things. And it's like, no, that's not true. Shit be happening to you more than you be doing shit. So anyway.
All right.
You disagree with all that, or you guys agree with all that, or?
I mean, it's fully reasonable from that perspective, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm not a very deep thinker when it comes to free will, or I have several books that deal with the idea of free will. It's just whenever I start to read them, that's when I get really, 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 really tired and fall asleep.
Yeah.
So it would really help the conversation if people would stop complaining free choice and free will. It's not directed. Okay, what is the difference?
This is why we need Maya on this channel or on her channel to discuss this. She seems to have a really good grasp of the actual. Okay, she's got it on her list of topics, but yeah, she's got an overview of the topic, a good knows the keywords.
Yeah, if you could drop a link here in the chat, that would be great, Maya.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go look at it. We'll revisit it and maybe have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I am promoting your channel, Maya. I think everybody who appreciates all the channels we have endorsed so far would just really love Maya's channel and what she and Tapioca, Dr. Tapioca something. What's the last part of that? Of he's on there like he's a physicist. I would like to know what a physicist thinks about free will.
Yeah.
So that would be a really good platform to talk about it. Of course, you'll get a lot of YouTube philosophers and people that probably show up for it.
So do we get a link yet?
So very boring, but
do we have a link to Maya's channel?
We can get
we're
it
waiting
real,
for it
real
still.
quick.
Yeah, we're waiting for someone to drop that. In the meantime, Cerberus Hex says free will and determinism are both wrong.
Okay,
So,
Bree has provided it for us.
Thank you, Bree.
Oh, good. Thanks, Bree. Let me.
I'm going to open it up real quick.
Waiting for YouTube to provide it for me. Oh, there it is.
I'm not already subscribed to Maya. How'd that happen? Well, I am now.
Yeah. God damn it. Oh my God. Answers in Atheism isn't subscribed. I think my mic account is. Anyway, let's throw that in the description. And so, do you have free will?
Do you want to give implicit permission or whatever the word would be for Maya to always promote her channel whenever she wants to?
Always.
Okay. You're always welcome to promote your channel and what you're doing, coming up or whatever, Maya. And we'll put it in the description and we'll put a thing on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I want to make a blanket statement on that. Anyone is perfectly okay to promote anything you want to promote on this chat. I'm not, what the hell's his name? What is his name? Oh, the curmudgeonly atheist. Why did I forget his name? What the fuck?
What curmudgeonly?
Oh, he's
always... You're talking about what's his face? Pine Creek. Yeah, Doug from Pine Creek.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah. He gets all fucking...
Yeah, he's...
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a team player. He doesn't believe that we're building anything he wants to be part of.
Yeah. Anyway, fuck that shit. Promote anything you want here. Particularly, I love when people promote channels and provide links, and I always try to put them in the description. It's the only goddamn thing I do here. So that's any good.
Right. So I am a determinist. If anybody ever wants to challenge me on that, for in any setting at all where the topic allows for it.
Yep. I too am a determinist.
Yeah. So we would have a psychology person and Maya. We would have a Dr. Tapioca something who's a physicist, and then we could, and they could host. Of course, I would recommend somebody like Dr. Chris Thompson, for the science of neurology, and then just anybody else you want to get in there. And that
I should be in there because I'm so incredibly opinionated. It's important to have one like stupidly opinionated, over opinionated butthole in the mix somewhere, and that's me.
Yeah, but see, what will happen is people will be able to go to sleep after they listen to the show because you're Mr. ASMR. You should call yourself James ASMR.
ASMR.
Because it's so satisfying and calming to hear your voice.
I hope everybody's subscribed to Bree.
Yes, Havsa at Havsa. Tapioca Weasel. Thank you, Command Cyborg. I was just having trouble remembering that last part. I kept wanting to say pudding, but that's not it. But it's Tapioca Weasel. He co-hosts that channel with Maya's channel with her on several occasions.
I want to go watch a bunch of content this afternoon and see if I can find stuff on free will. But I wanted to before we. Okay, go ahead, James.
I can make some recommendations later if you want to ask me about like what I would suggest for free will reading.
She has Nick Sauter on there. No, promote yourself. Let's see. Where did I see Nick Sauter?
Me too, Sean Mac. Me too.
Okay. Yeah, strong opinions are good. I wanted to mention that CO2 is plant food. We need more of it. This is Creation Ministries International, and here's their fucking argument. Okay, like before the flood, there was all kinds of plant life, and there was like this huge paradise earth with tons of plant life, right? And the flood buried all that plant life, and it became coal and oil. And then it was depleted from the atmosphere. So right now we have a carbon dioxide shortage in the atmosphere. It's not as God meant it to be for paradise. So what we need to do is dig that coal and oil up and burn it as fast as we can, because the plants are starving for carbon dioxide. And we need to warm the earth up, because warmer is better. Because during paradise, the earth was a lot hotter, right? Obviously, because of the radiation and heat problem, it was hot enough to melt the fucking sun.
And more people need to be smoking cigarettes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Or at least putting a tobacco product in there between their cheek and gum, because that's the way God wants it too. And we have these studies from the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, and yesterday, I think Microsoft, or a few days ago, Microsoft announced that Xbox, they're implementing a new bit of software that will shut the Xbox down when it's not being used, so that it saves energy. And Fox News came on board and said, they're just trying to cram climate change down the children's throat, and they're ruining our children by having the Xbox shut off. And Stephen Colbert said, yeah, these guys, they just want us to shut our car off after we park it in the garage,
Yeah.
I didn't do
I love
that.
Colbert.
I filled my Cadillac up, I don't know, some fucking 20-gallon, 25-gallon tank or some fucking thing. And I was like really excited because I bought some stuff I wanted to play with, and my son was gone for the weekend, and I drove in the garage, jumped out of my car, went in the house, went to sleep, watched TV, did whatever I did. The next day I came out there, and the garage was like 110 degrees in the winter, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? The furnace is stuck on. And I went over and I set my coffee on the hood of my car, and I almost burned my hand. And then I went and looked, and my Cadillac had used all 20-some gallons of gas, pumping it in. So I quickly opened the door. It's a good thing we don't have an attached garage, or I would have killed myself. But I was because you can't hear the engine run on that thing. So it's so easy to get out of it and forget to fucking shut it off. It's like, oh, what a fuck up.
So, but with electric cars, don't they have to make a sound, so people can hear it coming? Because if they didn't, they would be hitting people right and left.
You
because
really
they don't
can't
hear the car.
Yeah, they make a little noise. The engine has to make a noise, but my son's car is really silent until he turns it on. So the other day he goes out he wanted to go to the Mall of America with his brother. And he gets out in his car, and because of a bad software update, his car wouldn't recognize his key card or his phone. So he couldn't go until he updated the software on his car.
Oof.
So he was out in the driveway updating the software. That's some fucking future shock shit right there.
Yeah, that's not okay. What if he was had an emergency and had to go to the hospital or something? And then
I know.
Ugh.
Or what if the AI decided his political views were no good and just suddenly had him go into the river because an AI told him to?
That maniac that owns Tesla.
Yeah. What if he decides you're not not real people? Well, NHI, no human involved. Is that what the cops say?
Yeah, we need to get that ice dome around the earth there. Yeah, for some pre-flood air pressure, because that made us live longer, right? Because you live longer if you're in an iron lung, I guess, or some fucking thing. I don't know.
It's weird how these young Earth people kind of create this mythoverse. And it keeps changing to match the conservative and fascist politics.
Yeah.
Like suddenly now, we have to add CO2 because the flood took it all out.
The most frightening thing about that is that they're talking about creating policy, right? Like policy based on a biblical story that they totally don't understand what the original authors meant, but they have an understanding of this story. And they're using that story to tell us that we need to put more CO2 into the atmosphere. And we haven't put enough in yet.
Thing is, it'll happen. They're going to get what they want.
They're going to get what they want. Yeah. The plants are going to be happy. Oh, they're going to be like the plants are starving. I mean, really? Go look at the plants. Go look at the trees. Are they starving? I don't think so. I think they're okay. They're okay in my backyard. I don't know.
Well, except we keep cutting all of them down, you know, in places like the rainforests and things like that. Other than that, they're great. Of course, now they're burned down all over California and Australia. But
next year
I'm okay.
I'm going to go out in the woods and I'm going to look for malnourished trees.
That's right. We need to start a Save the Trees campaign.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell. Some of them are just depressed. They might not be malnourished.
Yeah.
And we'll have to find the ones with the eating disorders that just need a little love, need a little therapy, and maybe they can thrive again.
Yep. Anyway, well, have we pissed enough people off yet?
Probably so. It's gotten quiet in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, we're losing viewers, so I think it's time to end her. Time to go eat dinner.
But man, this was a great chat. The chat was buzzing. I couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And really, we were kind of talking about the same thing as chat, but we were way behind the chat. So Benghazi requests that we talk about fungus next.
Oh, Carol the Atheist posted a link to her channel. I have, I just watched a few things. You had a talk with her. I was invited, but I was already off, and I didn't see the text message, so I didn't show up, James.
Yeah, I love talking with Carol.
I have just subscribed to Carol's channel, and I will get notified now anytime she goes on the air or goes live on stream, whatever you call it.
Let's see. Up and coming channel. Oh,
everybody go out there and sub to Carol the Atheist. We need to do like a 24-hour marathon thing where we try to get people to sub to her.
Entangled Life. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other thing, James Tour has a thing. Where the fuck is that? Oh God, what was it? James Tour.
Where he just kills Professor Dave.
No, he was somebody. I think Evidence and Reasons or somebody did a bunch of clips from James Tour, and I lost them. I'll have to find it again, but he's coming on and he's talking about finding blood cells in Tyrannosaurus Rex fossils. No, they did not find blood cells.
Oh my gosh!
Right, he is that idiotic. And this guy calls him fucking. He's like, I know original life research. I'm in a perfect position to do original life research. No, he's not. He's a synthetic fucking chemist, and he thinks.
Yeah, he has. Oh wow! I can't believe he's doing that.
Yeah, but he may have clipped him out of context. Whoever did the clips, but next time we get live, we'll do it. Maybe we'll get live.
I don't have the link with me, but Aaron Ra. Did an interview with who is the scientist that published the thing about organic matter from the T-Rex or whatever, the blood issue.
Oh, shit.
I watched that just the other day, actually.
Yeah, now I can't remember her name. Somebody.
I'm just, for some reason, me and you both, Scott, are having a hell of a time with words and names today.
Well, you know what I should have done is I should have looked up Aaron Ra's channel. Oh, Mayor Schweitzer, thank you, Bree.
Yeah.
Mary Schweitzer talked with Aaron Ra, and that
Really?
was very. It was like a
gotta find that.
45-minute. Was it a 45-minute talk? I don't know. It seemed extensive and comprehensive. So that was just a good conversation. Okay, I'm gonna get it.
Let's see. Dinosaur Shocker? No, that's different. Rebutting Genesis Apologetics with Aaron Ra. Here we go. Was it this one? Rebutting, let's see, 7? No, that's not it. We got to find it. It was just the other, so it was new?
Yeah, it was just the other day. Let me work my slow magic. Yeah, here it is. Rebutting 7th of 7 allegations or whatever 8 days ago.
Yep. Okay.
Have you found it?
Radiometric dating and
Okay.
such.
Somebody, is that me playing that?
No, I just played it by accident. So
okay, let me put that in the chat. So there's the video. I'll try to get all this shit linked. I'm gonna go eat something first. So I had to go. I had to go push the mailman out. He got stuck on our mailbox.
it's winter somewhere. Thank goodness.
Yep.
It's been in like the 30s and 30s overnight and the 40s during the day. So it's cold in Texas, but it's nothing like up north.
12 above here right now, and we're heading down to like I think 17 below, something like that. Yeah, this is our sucky part of the year. This is where that fucking Arctic shit from Canada comes down and pushes into Minnesota and
Thanks,
all across
Canada.
the nation. Yeah, that's why, nuclear testing in Canada to warm that fucking place up.
Canada needs more CO2.
They do, yeah. Warm Canada up. I'm all for nuking Canada to warm it up. Because I'm
You
from
should have
Minnesota.
taken your Cadillac into Canada and left it running.
I wonder if I'm gonna get banned on YouTube for half the things I've said during this stream. Shooting programmers, nuking Canada. Humans don't exist. What else? Whatever.
Or if you take on a particular topic, sometimes YouTube will automatically put a link to information. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we said
Well,
climate change. Yeah.
You haven't crossed the line until Tucker Carlson starts quoting you and agreeing. That's how you know.
Oh, yeah, right. Yep, I can't wait for that. Anyway, nuke the Arctic Circle. There you go. Bree's got a goddamn good idea. Let's
Create
take all those nukes
rectangle
and
by whittling away the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, take all those nukes and send them up there and get rid of them, so that we don't have to fucking sit around and worry. Say they updated the doomsday clock. We're 90 seconds to midnight now, or something like that, because of the war in Ukraine.
Is that something you put on a resume? That I'm a I don't know what they are, the watchdog of the nuclear clock.
Doomsday clock, yeah.
Doomsday clock setter. You should hire me, or else I'm going to set it forward another 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, we're at a point in the world now where very soon people will be saying, "God, thank God I'm fucking old and I'm going to die soon," instead of, "Oh God, I'm old, I'm going to die soon." It's going to be like a positive thing. Like, I get to get the fuck off this planet before shit gets real, right? It's like, holy shit.
Yeah,
I need to buy my grandkids, some high-powered rifles or something.
Yeah, they're high-powered.
Grid collapses.
Oh, they make these almost lethal Nerf guns now. So
there you go.
Yeah, I think Maya's right. I think we are entering the 6th major extinction. I just think it's just inevitable.
And we've done it to ourselves.
We did it because we just want to sin.
We just want to sin. That's got to be it.
Yeah, I think that's it. We fucked her all up. Yep. Anyway, okay, we're gonna end the stream, guys.
All right, guys. Love you all. You know where to find me.
Yep.
Everybody's been great. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I don't know. Where the hell is my thing? I don't know. I don't know where my thing is.
It's on the right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, but I can't find the thing. I got regular show. I got preliminary intro.
Okay. Raise your right hand, Speed. Now move your right hand towards the right side of the screen and then look up.
Yeah, but I can't find the video I uploaded. Fucking gone. Anyway, I'll do the I has the power and we'll end the stream.
Okay.
There's only power.
Wait a minute, that didn't even fucking work. Nothing's working. Oh, fuck it. Goodbye, crew.